Yeah,
All
very
right.
good.
So first win. I'm with my daughter. All right. So
Where are you?
we're actually at this Bloomsbury Square Garden, which is just a few minutes walk from the British Museum, which we'll
Oh, yeah.
visit 10 past 10 today when the museum opens. So
Oh,
perfect
okay.
time for our sync. And afterwards, British Museum.
Very good. Very good.
All right. So yeah, so would you like to share your win first? On your
Um, I don't know. I don't know if I've got any wins really. I'm just
wins, learnings, updates.
yeah, no. I'm a bit blank really. Yeah, I just had a weekend of working hard and relaxing hard. So
Oh, okay, all right, all right. So I guess any work wise, did anything or
no,
relax
it's
wise?
all the garden, all in the garden.
Okay, all right.
So
So garden work. All right.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So all right. So maybe I'll share some wins on my part.
Sure.
All right. So well, I obviously the first thing is right now I'm in UK, right? it's
Yeah.
it's yeah. That's living partly future self, and there was actually a I'd say a my daughter when she got here yet last night, she immediately started to miss her mom. uh you know that was yeah. And I think I guess the win there is to recognize, this is what she wanted actually a lot, like really excited, really looking forward to spend a lot of time planning, preparing, not unlike when you go on a startup journey and you want to go for the big thing, right? So it's something she wanted. But then there was also things that wasn't expected. For example, last night when we check in, it just nobody answered the door. Saw a lot of negative reviews, things like that. We didn't lose any bag, okay, because we decided to take only hand carry luggage this time. So definitely my last trip to UK play a role there. It contributed to more experience, which was good. But
I think it's Air Canada that you've got to worry about, not the UK.
yes, right. So, but anyway, and the room probably was smaller than expected, things like that. And since she really started to was missing her mom, yeah, and so all that, and she was crying, like badly. Um, but I think what happened was, obviously we took a walk, we had something to eat, relax a bit, had some voice chat, and after a while, I think we started to discuss about like why we started this trip. Okay, like why did we start to take the trip in the first place, and what wasn't it just something we were both looking forward to? And then also about, so what are the good things? That's, there's good and bad. So are there any good stuff that has happened? And the answer was obvious, yes, a lot of new experiences. She saw a heater in the room for the first time, right? Learn about the British, I think the traffic system. We had a nice transfer dinner in Vietnam. We actually took a Vietnam Danbu air flight. So we actually took a route to Vietnam, to Hanoi, and then
Wow.
yeah, and she watched a movie on the flight. So I think the lesson for me here is there's always the good and the bad, or rather the expected and the unexpected.
Yeah, for sure.
The supposed gain and the supposed loss, right? But then again, it's really how you look at things, how you frame things, and how you, right, respond or react to things. And I think it's a skill, it's a habit that can be developed and learned, right? And so yesterday, I think one of the big gain was we really sort of were doing this together as father, daughter, as family, to I think to learn to put things in perspective, right? And I think this is also part of the valuable things for this trip, which is actually part of the reason why I wanted to take the trip in the first place as well, to learn about how we can uh, still be in good place mentally, emotionally, physically, despite the unexpected, despite the ups and downs, despite the various things. Yeah. So I think that's one win. The other win, I'd say, again, learning from Ray Dalio. Okay, so in the principle, I think it was just he talked about the idea of responsible party. Okay, so that's the person who actually makes decision ultimately and bears the results, bears the risk. That's the person who should have the decision power. And he also talks about hiring people. You should hire people for values as the top, and then abilities, and then skills. Oftentimes, organizations hire for ability and skill, but maybe not so much considering the values. But they should really be values and abilities in the first place, because skills are learnable. So I think that's also something I wasn't that much aware of the difference between abilities and skills. But I think abilities are more like what Dan talks about in terms of unique abilities. It could be things that are more long-term or I think innate to a person, rather than skills are probably more knowledge experience based, can be increased, enhanced through practice, through study. So I mean that's also another thing. And I think a third thing is do invest in people. I think he also made a distinction between people who value the whole versus their own let's say your own benefit or their own interests, right? So you in any kind of, I guess, team-based or organization-based kind of collaboration, you want to have people who who see the whole as more important as as the part. Not to say that we don't value and respect individual uniqueness. Okay, in fact, that's where we want to leverage the most in order to maximize the collective strength and wisdom. But when there is a conflict, so one example that he gave was when making decisions, which should always have a process, a clear and agreed upon, transparent process for making decisions. And some may be more happy than others about the actual decisions taken, but once it's decided, everybody should just go behind the decision. And that's kind of the basic idea. And yeah, so those are the people you want to bring into an organization, right? So I think this is something, again, I haven't given as much attention about, okay, like with the people I've been working in the past or collaboration with. Definitely skills, abilities, and value alignment, more like the end alignment, whether we are going to the same goal or we have similar goals. But I think the value alignment is something I realize might have overlooked. Okay, and that's probably something we want to pay attention to. And that brings me to one of the things I want to discuss for today, which is our current team. Okay, both like whether we should have culture building activities such as monthly gathering, like online once a month kind of town hall meeting, with everybody who's currently in the project, or even like, like partners, external parties. And the other thing was like Nick and Joy, right? Should we, I'm thinking about we should probably start over and then You know, like really.
What happened
I'm
to you?
to my what? Hello?
Nick and Joy start over and then you went silent.
Oh, no, no, no. I think probably, can you hear me? Can you hear
Yeah,
now?
yeah, I can hear you. No, I can't hear you now.
I think it's probably, it might be a incoming call that broke the room.
Right.
Is it
Mm.
okay now? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So I was just saying that, you know, probably get back to a smaller team size, and then, you know, start from there to see, you know, how we can actually
Smaller
grow.
team size.
Or a cleaner Telegram channel, something like that. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I mean that's fair enough. I think there's a lot of people on there. I don't,
right.
you know.
Okay, right. Okay. All right. So that's it. So I guess any feedback or wins on your end that you'd like to share?
But I know it was interesting. So actually, one thing that came out this weekend was that Olga and I thought we'd worked out a trading strategy which would, in using traditional, platforms, generate us like a 44% return on investment.
Wow. Okay.
However, when we thought about it, we had maybe a day of going, well, that'd be brilliant. Look, if we just take, a simple investment of X, we could do this and and then we could extrapolate up and all the rest of it. And before you knew it, I'd worked out we could earn sort of like $200,000 a year just on this strategy, which would be pretty cool.
Right.
And then on Sunday, Olga went, oh no, but we haven't thought about this.
Okay.
I went, oh yeah, you're right. So, which is still possible to make a fairly decent return on investment using the strategy, but it becomes more risky. And rather than making 40%, you might make 10%, which is still good.
Yes.
But it requires more thought and more risk. So, but I kind of, whilst we were going through the daydreaming of being, super rich, super quick, there was always this part of me which was saying, yeah, there's got to be something wrong here. It's too good. And it was true. So, it was an interesting learning, really. But, it is what it is. Okay. So we've got, okay.
All right. So any topics you'd like to discuss for today? But by the way, I think that's a good lesson there. The higher the risk, the higher the return usually involves risks of, certain nature, I think. Yeah. And it's, consistency in ROI over time. I think that's probably the more probable way to aim for, the more realistic and probable way approach. Yeah. Okay. So So any, I guess, topics for today?
Yeah. Fluidify, One versus Cybrid, tech update on where we are, Josh, ClickFunnel, and then I put down culture for the one that you put down, but.
What would be the top to discuss for you?
Well, last week we had 3 meetings, Fluidify, one, and then Cybrid. So what were your thoughts about Fluidify?
Okay. I think we briefly discussed that, right? And I'll summarize my learning with their discussion. Okay. I think they have a good in-depth data set about the actual, I think it's just the actual records or transaction that's happening on the chain about these DeFi, liquidity pools. And they also have a risk rating that they are also developing and continuously improving. Okay. And again, APIs to set up, let's say, transactions quickly and to automate. So what I see them as a valuable sort of data provider. And I think that's also their positioning, right? Recall that they talk about 3 types of data: the wallet data, the market data, the wallet data, and also the what he called the protocol data, right? And so market data, a lot of people are doing that, not so much with wallet and also protocol, and they pride themselves on collecting protocol level data. Okay, so I think that's what that means is they should be a very good source in regard to which liquidity pool to invest, risk adjusted. Okay, so if we choose that we want to deploy a liquidity pool based strategy, then their service will probably be very valuable for us. Okay, in terms of having basically it's pre-filter, prevented investment source. There is ambulance, so I don't know, how's my voice?
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay, all right. So that's my summary and takeaway. So the next step would be to actually just to investigate about, like how to use their API with the free accounts, right? And how we can use those to set up liquidity pool-based investment vehicles or strategy, right? And then use that as part of our strategy to grow assets, increase AUM or ROI, right? So I think that's basically that part. It does require integration development effort though. Okay, and right now I have no idea like how much or how little effort that might take. So that will require a kind of technical survey analysis on that part, probably by our development team. So that's my takeaway. Regarding the fiat part, okay,
well, hang on,
so
hold on. On DeFi then, Fluidify rather. What sort of timescale are we going to work to?
Okay, so I think this again comes back to our main goal for Q3, right? I think which is about 1,000, getting 1,000 people to join JCF, the main fund. And I think this is something I like your feedback on though, which is let me put it this way. Okay, so I think we want to ask the question, will this make the boat go faster, right? In other words, is this going to help us get to the 1,000 members fast, okay, or relevant? Let's say compare with some user interface, user experience improvement that might smooth out the onboarding, or the investment process. Do you see what I'm saying? Compare, because I think with the okay, Fluidify. With Fluidify, it's more about increasing the ROI. Agree?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
about
not increasing the ROI. It's about getting a minimum standard ROI.
Right. Yes, correct. Yes, right.
So
correct. Yes.
If being able to promise, for argument's sake, 5%.
Right. Exactly.
I'm just picking that number out, right? then
exactly.
does that increase our chance of getting 1,000?
Exactly.
Yes, it
That's
does.
the question to ask. Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Because if you're sitting there saying, if you can promise a return on investment, then will that be good enough for some people? Yes, it will. A minimum investment of 5%. Okay, is that good? Well, yes, it is. If I can get the same in the bank, then no. But if I get the same in the bank with caveats that I have to lock my money up for a certain period of time, then yes. If I get the same in the bank, but I'm going to have to pay tax on it, then yes, it is better. So there's certain elements there that a promise of 5% as a minimum will help our gaining our 1,000. Is it more important than getting the user experience down? No, the platform needs to be better. Does it help you do a more automated process for investment? Yes, it does. How important is that?
Let me
Now,
put things in perspective as well. Quickly feedback on this. I think in terms of automation, okay, so this is a bit from my view. I don't think Fluidify currently offers. Let me put it this way: regarding the top 10 index strategy, it doesn't help automation in that regard. It's still something we have to do. Even if we do a automate, it helps automation in a sense that, let's say you want to invest into liquidity pool, and there are certain transactions you have to take, like basically simple transaction requests. I think they help to lessen a bit of the manual effort of moving assets in and out, okay, of a particular pool. However, in terms of deciding which pool to take, what ratio, or automating that part, that is something still our own engineering effort will be, spent. Does it make sense?
okay.
Meaning that in terms of if we're just talking simply about automating our current process, it appears to me that probably 70%, 80% of the work is still going to be our own engineering. It's not something that they can help.
Fine.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, fine. So in terms of time frame, then it's something that we can come back to in 3 months.
Okay. All right.
Does that make sense?
Yes, makes sense. If user experience is something that would have an even bigger impact to the onboarding to the 1,000 users, then maybe that's where we want to emphasize first. Okay, or focus first.
All right. So then now we're on to one versus Cybrid.
Right, exactly. And this may be a more relevant discussions then. Yeah.
Okay. So you've only seen Cybrid, but you haven't seen it.
No, I haven't seen one yet.
You haven't seen, but you only spoke with Avinash or the chief executive or the founder or whatever at Cybrid. So you don't really know much about them other than that conversation, right?
Okay, right.
So it means we're going to have to have another pair of meetings for you to attend.
Okay, but I'm just wondering, well, is that necessary? Or maybe there are something we can already decide now. I mean, given what we know. I mean, what would be the criteria to choose one over the other? I think that might be something we want to decide first, right? Like what would be the main criteria from, let's say, from what is your perspective?
I think you've got obviously what the cost implications, but then you've got functionality. And then you've got synergy.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay.
You know, and any one of those, it's a little, you know, I don't know if it's allowed. It's not the same as your kind of your, you know, cost, speed, competency kind of triangle. You can have two, but not one, right? I think in this context, you can have, you know, you should be able to get a balance between all three. And the one that is most important to you might be synergy. Okay, so that's the most important. So you might sacrifice cost over synergy because the synergy is more important to you, or indeed the functionality is. So it might be your priority is functionality, synergy, cost. I don't know. I think the challenge then is that if you just look at it from a, I do think synergy is important, because if you're not kind of, what's the word? If you're not in alignment,
value align.
Yeah. If you're not in alignment with the company, because what's going to happen then is that you're going to come up with some hurdle, and you want to know that when you reach a hurdle, that the people on the other side are going to work with you to get over that hurdle.
Exactly.
And it not be a case of, yeah, you're left on your own.
Yeah,
so
totally agree. It's very much like finding a star partner, right?
You know, yeah, I mean, but so the point is, it's like that doesn't come through. You can look at the costs and compare the costs and go, right, well, A is better than B. And you can look at the functions and go, well, B is better than A.
Right, exactly.
But you can't look at a piece of paper and go, well, I've got synergy.
Right. Okay. It's hard.
Which is why it's important that you're on the call to be able to feel that.
Right. Okay.
And you only get that from asking questions and from seeing how they respond and how they present.
Right. All right. So right now you have talked to both. What is your feel on the synergy part regarding one and I guess.
At the moment, I'm kind of thinking that one is better than Cybrid.
Okay. And why is that? I mean, are there specific?
Because one is more established.
A gut feeling, right? Okay.
Yeah, and they've got more practice in bringing people on board, and I think that they understand their business model better.
Okay.
Where Cybrid is in startup, and whilst it's got an idea of the direction it wants to go in, there's a lot of fluidity within that. What I've seen with startups is that they have an idea, and this is me using them from an income sector perspective in terms of cybersecurity. Is that they have an idea, they generate a product, they go, isn't this cool? And then they get some traction, go, right, people really like us, and then they go, oh wait, hey, we're not making the right amount of money here, so quick, let's fumble around, what do we need to do? And they make changes. And you know, you're sunk into them because you've invested something, and so you have to go with it. But I don't know, I mean, I could be wrong. And look, so also one is able to do pounds, euros, and dollars.
Not so more currency types, right?
Yeah. Whereas Cybrid can only do dollars or Canadian.
I see. Okay. All right. Okay.
So we still have the same questions and issues about jurisdiction as well.
Right, but I think jurisdiction may be an independent from which provider we're choosing. I think, judging from the you know, I think one of the valuable things from the Fluidify discussion was that I think, at least to me, it became more clear that the jurisdiction issue is really a country by country question. You know, like which country should we focus? And then we want to, you know, basically make sure that our offering works in that jurisdiction, which might involve some additional legal stuff or partnership, right? Like they talk about they work with broker dealer, right, as clients, which eliminates their need to go through any kind of jurisdiction legal issue, because that rests on their broker dealer client. They have to make sure that part. So you know, that's kind of for them. And you know, to them, we are kind of like that. Okay, that we will have to figure out what's the legal thing. But there's also a possibility for us to work, let's say, with a broker dealer partner of providing JCF service for them, where they are handling all the KYC ML and the legal stuff. That's, you know, by serving clients for a particular market, you know, that kind of entail, right? So I do see there are different pathways going forward, but I think one of the key thing is I mean, just legally and practically speaking, I think we want to open market, open service base, maybe one country at a time to different countries. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I do have another new thought on this. Would it be all right to share?
Go for it.
Okay, this actually came just this morning. So I credit that to having a long hour sleep after a long flight and a lot of rest time. So something just sort of pop up in the head that okay, so I don't know how long can we maybe realize this, but I do see there's a direction we want to take down the road, which is to make JCF basically as okay, so there are two concepts here. One is custodianship of the assets. Okay, if we hold assets for clients, if we're their custodian, then we bear all kinds of legal risk and responsibility that, you know, that could require us to apply for different license, you know, going to different jurisdictions and all that thing, which is what Fluidify was talking about. Okay, their CEO. On the other hand, if we are able to allow another third party, or even let's say smart contract, to be the asset holder, the custodian, okay, then, you know, that could elevate both the risk and the responsibility on our part. Okay, and that actually fits more with the DeFi thinking and in fact, the crypto cultural value system of decentralization. Okay, so that's one idea. In other words, if we can figure a way to actually not be the assets custodian, okay, through some kind of DeFi approach, that actually helps us to address A, the legal issues, and B, the you know, the potential scaling issues, okay, in terms of providing service to many people of different nationalities. Okay, so that's one. The second thing is regarding assets management in terms of the strategy. Right now, again, we are using human-based, very centralized approach to do our top 10 index investment strategy. Now, that is something that could be taken over by some AI strategy. Okay, in other words, not allowing human to manage, but actually a trained AI model to do the actual management decisions. Okay, so this is something that, you know, I was, you know, just thinking, and to there are obviously details about how this can go about, but I think at the very least, you know, if this is something that, you know, that let's say we can actually make it happen, okay, then I think both the legal complexity and also the scaling part of JCF could improve quite a lot. Okay, so I guess that's the current. That's just something a bit related to what we're
Yeah,
discussing.
okay. It's an idea, but I mean, it's not.
Right.
What does that relate to whether or not we're going to take any action with one or hybrid?
Okay. So with one or hybrid,
Does it
yeah,
bear
okay.
any relevance, that idea? So you're saying, so if we have an AI program that will do the investment, so we have an AI CIO basically, and
exactly.
and then we have a smart contract custodian,
CFO.
smart contract custodian, right?
Right.
Then okay, great, but they're like mini projects.
Right.
So they're not something that we can deal with today, are they?
It's not something, and also there's not clear ideas yet about how to actually execute this. Okay.
So we just need to put that on the shelf then, and that will come back in. So we need to let that come back in a couple of months.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
Fine. So coming back to one or hybrid, because neither of those answer the question about one or hybrid.
Okay. So, well, I guess the relevance would be if that is a future 6, 12, 24 months down the road, okay, or sometime, what will make sense now, right? Which provider will make more sense now, right? If that's the direction that could happen, right? So I definitely think if multi-currency, more currency, more established, that's, you know, I would see that as more relevant, you know, and if one can provide that, that would be more relevant to us in terms of allowing more accessibility and more, you know, easier access, right? In terms of investment or client base or user base from more, you know, diverse kind of nations or geographies. So that's definitely more in alignment. What I'm curious though is when you talk about synergy, is like what did you specifically, what were you thinking about in terms of synergy regarding you know, one or hybrid?
I just think it's being able to have an understanding with the people. They're a partner in your enterprise. So
okay, I see. Okay.
Are you going to be able to sit there and go, that's great, this is, so whatever the issue is, I have an issue. Is the response from them, nothing I can do about that, it's just the way it is? Or is the response from them, okay, that's interesting, let me look at it, maybe we can figure something out?
Okay, but
now obviously,
I'm just curious.
At some point in time, you will get the there's nothing I can do, that's the way it is response, which is fair enough. But if you get that every single time, then there's no synergy. If you get if you get it, well, let me look into this, let me see what we can do, then you know somebody's actually paying attention to your request and they want to try and work with you.
Okay.
And regardless, I mean, even if it's just a matter of them sitting there giving you 10 minutes while they go and think away and come back and they say the same thing, nothing I can do, but at least you feel like somebody's actually listening to you.
Okay, all right. So one question I have, yes, I understand your point. One question I have is, wouldn't this kind of response be more, I guess, attainable from a more kind of startup company than a more established company?
No, I would say not necessarily. It depends on the culture and the values and the way in which they work. Having said that, though, yes, you would anticipate that a behemoth of a well-established company will say no, whereas the buoyancy of a startup will always say, let's see what we can do. But I mean, we're not talking about comparing David and Goliath here. We're not talking about comparing an ocean-going transportation ship, an oil-bearing ship, with a motorboat. We're talking about a 5-year-old company versus a 1-year-old company.
Okay, which could mean a difference.
A 5-year-old company that's got customers and a 1-year-old company that's got investment.
Okay. All right. So that's where you're thinking. All right. Okay. So what's the cost associated with each? I mean, with one and also with
I don't know. I can't remember exactly. But I'm going to have to sit there and do an analysis and give you a report. Then that's what, if that's what you're asking for, then I'll have to go and do that.
No. I'm just saying, like, what's the quote? Like, what does it take to actually start utilizing a service?
Again, I don't know. I can't remember.
Okay. All right. Okay. Then I think from this discussion, I would say go for one then. Okay. If that's seems like that's more synergistically aligned, right? I think for
again, that's just my opinion. That doesn't mean that it's right for JCF.
Okay.
And this is why it's important that, I mean, if you trust that my decision is absolutely right and that's fine, then that's great. And if we bear the consequences together, then that's fine. But
okay. Well, from my perspective, okay, I would say the two things from a development point of view or from an operation point of view, just two things to consider. One is what's the cost to adopt, and is it something we can afford at this point, right? At this moment. The second is how much integration time effort it's going to take, right? For us to practically integrate their service as part of our, into our current system or mechanism, right? So those are just a couple of things, for me, I want to figure out. That might take a, additional calls, right? To discuss with their tech lead or, something, in that capacity, right? So that's something definitely we can schedule and arrange, okay, to have a chat on that. But otherwise, I would say go for what you feel business-wise makes more sense, right? So the priority will be going for one first and then Cybrid next, right? I mean in terms of the pipeline, I guess that's what's going to happen. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know about one then Cybrid. I would have thought one or Cybrid, but that's
okay.
Yeah. Both. Don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Well, let me just go out and work on that one a little bit and then come back to you.
Okay. All right.
All right. Did Josh respond to you?
Okay. Yes, we're going to have a sync. Okay. Later, that will be 3 p.m. UK time.
Okay. So he hasn't given you an answer to your offer?
No. So I suspect it hasn't been done yet, but I also think it probably will be a relatively, I personally, right now, my thinking is it's probably not a big fix in terms of, because it's really about, replacing a fixed 1-to-1 ratio to using NAV as the exchange rate. And I think if that can be fixed, then the investment part would be all right.
No, I'm talking about the offer you made to him.
Oh, the offer. Okay. Oh, so he responded. He thinks that if we're limited in budget, then the best way forward would be to still work in the current mode. which is we gave him a spec of things to do and a budget, and then he'll or they'll do whatever. Right now the few, not just him, but also there's also a front end person and also Sunny to finish things. Okay, and then yeah, and we provided the next budget, milestone based, milestone result based. But then that also mean that he won't be able to devote fully to JCF. He would still have to take another another job to sort of cover the whatever expense right now he's projecting.
Right. Okay.
Originally, he raised that to want to say that if he can devote, then in terms of the time wise, we might start to save time.
Yeah.
That
Okay,
was the
fine.
original. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So what do you think? Yeah.
Well, it is what it is.
Okay. All right. Well, I think what we can do is to chop it up into smaller chunk, smaller deliverable, smaller development period. Okay, and have more of an iterative process for that. So we don't lump too much things to do at each milestone. I think that's what we like every milestone, it should be something that we feel is valuable in terms of the next user experience iteration, right?
Mhm.
Something that would have a concrete user experience improvement.
So where are we at with the two kind of issues that are raised, or the stuff that I put on Telegram and Slack and whatnot?
Okay, so I don't think I did mention some of the quick things I wanted to see fixed. Okay, but my discussion with Josh last time, I think the consensus was to make that into the next milestone. Okay, the next deliverable, because it's true that for this version, and there are technical issues to be resolved, in terms of migrating the JCF current system and the investment, making sure the investment withdrawal works. So that would be the main point for this current milestone. So I think for the user experience issues, that's better to spec out a new set of requirements. It can be done maybe quickly in 1 or 2 weeks of time, but I think that would be like the next, kind of next phase.
Okay.
That's my. In other words, right now I think in terms of development, the priority is still to close down, make sure that the investment works correctly, right? The actual investment function and the withdrawal function works correctly.
What do you mean by that then?
Oh, for example, I put in 20 USDT into the system already, and I got 20 JCF token, which should not happen. Okay.
Right.
Given the NAV is right now 0.66, 63 something, I would probably expect to get like not 20 JCF tokens, but something like 30 JCF tokens. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's what I talk about, the correctness of the functionality. Right now, it's not correct.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then where do we how do we define that it's 0.63, not 1-to-1?
Oh, it's the current, because it's the current system migrated. It's from the current JCF system with 62, 62 US dollar per JCF token. We are converting that right now because it was like 1 JCF token with 100 US dollar as the base. That's when it started, right? And the NAV has decreased, right, to 62.
Yeah. No, I get that. You've gone from 100 to 1 to 1-to-1, and then that obviously just makes a decimal point. I get that.
Exactly.
But how do you determine that it is 1-to-1?
You mean how do we determine? Or
yes.
Why? Oh, I think it was okay. So it was, I think, when developing the wealth token. Okay, we want us to also sort of have a base point, a base dollar with the wealth token, and as well as maybe all the other future tokens. So having a one-to-one might make it easier to understand.
Yeah, no, I
in
get
terms
that.
of-
I mean,
Okay.
I'm asking, so why is it that it's worth 0.62 or 0.63, not 1? How do you
Oh,
work that
okay,
out?
okay. Well, you can make it 1 as well, but it's in that case, the token that people own will also change accordingly. Okay, and I think, you know, okay. Well, I think it might have been an easier conversion, and also, because you can check the previous system and the current system just by 2 decimal points.
That's
It might
not,
be easier to.
I don't think you're answering the question. If I've got 1 token,
Right.
I've now got, and it was worth $1 or a USDT, and
Right.
it's now worth 0.63. Why is
Right.
that?
Why is that? Are you talking about the original? No. Okay. Right now I'm talking about the 0.63. It's actually from the current JCF main fund migrating. Okay. And
Right.
okay. But okay, hold on. I think right now it's raining here. Okay. So hold on.
You got an umbrella?
Yes, we do. Yeah. But okay. So just to get this point across, the when we were doing the migration of the JCF main fund, okay, when we were migrating to the new system, that's when the token there was already 62, right? So it's a
Why is
question
it
of
62? I just want to understand why is it that it's
because we
lost its
lose
value?
value through investments strategy with it was like back in are you asking why it has decreased from, let's say, $100 per token to 62?
Yes.
Is that the question? Okay.
Yes.
So that was through various investment strategy, the in and out of position when we go in and the crypto market lose value and the NAV decreases. Okay, so that was just happened over time. I think between 2021 to 2022. In 2021, we still had profit, and also the NAV was at 100. If you go to the okay, I think if you go to the dividend sheet, let me just share with you the screen here. All right, can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Okay, you have access to this document as well. Okay, so feel free to check anytime. It's called the dividend. Okay, dividend records, JCF dividend records. Okay. So in this sheet, the master sheet, if you go to the summary page, you actually would see all the historic record of the NAV. So you can see clearly from here that, let me put it this way, horizontal wise, okay. So you can see the NAV value was at this point in 2021, April, it was $100, right? And it jumped to 76, you see that? To at 1.80, and then jump all the way down to 64 at one point and 70, and then losing value, and then okay, and then in March, right, 62, and that's where it stayed. Okay, so throughout, what happened was there was the in and out activity, okay, during this period. So you can see that from the other sheet here, in and out. Maybe this is more clear. So these are the different in and outs during this period that were recorded. Okay, so you can see that that's how the NAV was fluctuating as a result of going in and out of positions. Is this what you were asking?
Yeah. I just wanted to get a quick handle on it, really.
Right. That's what happened. So at one point it was, 56 NAV, and right now it's back to about 62. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So these are the records. Okay. All right. So all right. So Mike, I think got to go now. But appreciate it for the discussion. Okay. It's I hope that was good. So I guess any takeaway and to do?
Yeah, I'll go and do a bit more research on One and Cybrid, and also carry on with the ClickFunnels stuff.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, are you going to schedule calls with them about the which one to adopt after your survey?
No, I'll just pull a lot of data out and figure out on paper what looks best.
Okay. All right. Okay, good. So what I'll do here is, again, finish off the current system quickly, and we can move to the next phase. Okay, in terms of user. And what I liked from your side is, besides the points you just mentioned in your bullet points, are those things once fixed you will be happy, or are there still other user interface issues you'd like to see done in the next system iteration cycle? Okay, what I want is basically a list of things you'd like to see get done fixed, and let's just make that into the next spec. Okay.
Right. I mean, those are the things that I've experienced so far.
Okay, all right, but I'm saying that maybe a more comprehensive, so we can get to the point where you will be comfortable in terms of actually showing client or allowing that on board. We can get those, get as much of those done in the next iteration. I mean, it would be helpful to see from your perspective what would be the user, experience that's desirable.
I think the photograph with the flow diagram illustrates that.
Okay. All right. All right. So I guess we'll chat on Thursday then. Thursday.
If you're good to.
Okay. All right. Still reserved. Okay. All right. So yeah, take care, and let me know if there are any other questions you'd like to know. Okay. All right.
Enjoy yourself.
Bye bye. Yeah.
Take
all
care.
right. Okay. Bye bye. Bye bye.